Incredible story. Black CEO disguised to bookroom. Receptionist shockingly calls security. Marcus stepped onto the bustling streets of downtown Chicago, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. The sounds of the city swirled around him, honking horns, hurried footsteps, and the murmur of life, yet he felt unmoored, as if he were floating just above it all. A vision of his modest upbringing flashed in his mind. The cramped apartment, the countless nights working on school projects by flickering light bulbs, and his parents' unwavering belief that he would succeed against all odds. Now he stood as the proud CEO of a tech startup that was really making waves. Yet today, dressed simply to blend in, his heart raced with a cocktail of ambition and apprehension. As he crossed the threshold of the lavish hotel, the opulence enveloped him like a cloak. Gilded chandeliers sparkled overhead, and a low hum of conversation buzzed in the air. But it was the receptionist's sharp gaze that cut straight through him, a frigid wave of condescension washing over his frame. Her eyes flicked from his worn shoes to his well-fitted shirt, her disinterest dancing close to disdain. "Can I help you?" she asked, the words tumbling out like a challenge. "I need to reserve a conference room for some investors," Marcus replied, his voice steady even as his heart thudded against his ribs. As he mentioned the meeting, her brow furrowed, disbelief creeping into her features. And then the unimaginable happened. She picked up the phone, her finger poised like a trigger. As she informed security, "We have an unauthorized individual here." A heavy silence draped across the lobby, and Marcus felt every eye on him. Indignation washed over him like a tidal wave, but beneath it lay a devastating desire for dignity. He recalled his late father's words. "Never let anyone define who you are." But societal judgment clung to him like a shroud. The whispers echoing through the room felt like visceral blows, reinforcing the injustices he had faced time and again. And then something remarkable began to unfold. Just outside the polished glass doors, a small group gathered, people who knew him. His childhood neighbors, old friends, veterans who had watched him rise from the same blocks they grew up on. "That's Marcus," one cried out, his voice cutting through the murmur of judgment. "He's our CEO." Their support was palpable, a warm beacon that illuminated the gloom, challenging the very biases that had long weighed heavily on him. Before Marcus could speak, their collective voices boomed, declarations of his worth spilling into the hotel lobby like a breath of fresh air. He felt the sparks of hope flicker inside him, igniting the courage he needed in this moment. But the receptionist's unconvinced eyes remained a barricade against his aspirations. As tension simmered, his heart raced. His thoughts spiraled through family ideals of unity, questioning whether those ideals could hold fast in this crucial moment. The standoff thickened, overlaid with the electric current of expectation. Just then, before any further escalation could occur, an authoritative figure approached, stern but measured, ready to intervene. In that fleeting moment, Marcus caught a glimmer of something in the receptionist's gaze, a flicker of understanding dawning upon her. Perhaps, just perhaps, it was a small chink in the armor of bias. But as the scene hung precariously, a single question lingered in the air. Would Marcus reclaim his dignity, or would this moment of confrontation leave him branded in a world that refused to see him for who he truly was? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The air thickened with anticipation as Marcus steeled himself. He took a step forward, reclaiming space in a world that had pushed him to the edge. The voices of his childhood friends rang louder, a defiant chorus against the prejudices of the elite world. Would he rise above? Would this battle echo beyond the lobby, into a wider world waiting to be changed? Hope surged. He was determined to find out. The figure striding toward Marcus emanated authority. A tall woman in a navy blue suit, she wore a badge that glinted under the hotel's ornate lighting. There was something grounded about her, her presence suffusing the air with both a challenge and a reassurance. "What's going on here?" she demanded, her eyes scanning the scene, taking in the crowd gathered behind Marcus. The receptionist stammered, her earlier confidence wilting under this scrutiny. I thought he was unauthorized," she murmured, her voice shaky and uncertain now. "Unauthorized?" The woman fixed her with a steely gaze. "This is Marcus Green, isn't it?" She turned to Marcus, her expression softening. "You're the CEO of Syntech, are you not?" "Yes," Marcus said, swallowing hard. "I was here to book a conference room for an important meeting. Then why on earth would you assume he's unauthorized?" The authoritative figure gestured at the crowd who had come to his defense, their faces full of pride and recognition. "Look at his supporters. This is a man who has earned his place." Marcus felt a swell of gratitude towards his friends who stood at the ready, their unity a powerful testament to his journey. He met the eyes of the woman in the suit, recalling the countless times he had wished for anyone to see him for who he truly was. In that moment she was doing just that. The receptionist was silent now, her defenses crumbling under the weight of truth. The murmurs in the lobby shifted tone, morphing from judgment to curiosity, then to admiration. Marcus could feel the tide turn. The crowd's energy was palpable, a sea of support wrapping around him. The woman nodded slowly, her demeanor easing. "Let us get this sorted out, shall we? I'll arrange for your room." She turned slightly, glancing back at the receptionist. "And you'll be learning more about our VIP clients. Make sure this doesn't happen again." As the crowd cheered, Marcus felt his chest swell with emotion. It wasn't just validation he craved. It was recognition. For so long he had been striving to break through barriers, and now with the support of his friends, he was beginning to ascend. "Thank you," he murmured, turning to the woman after she gestured towards a staircase leading to the conference rooms. "This means everything." "Just doing my job," she replied with a faint smile, though he could sense that she understood. A powerful woman stood before him, having faced her own battles, ready to support those in the climb. They stepped together toward the registration desk, and Marcus could feel the rumble of excitement in his veins. Yet, as they approached the desk, he caught a glimpse of the receptionist's face. There was something more than just embarrassment. Her expression shifted, portraying a mix of realization and regret, and he wondered if perhaps this moment of confrontation might have sparked something within her too. As they finalized the booking, Marcus's mind raced with new possibilities. He had not only claimed his rightful place but had opened a dialogue in a world that thrived on dismissing him. "Remember," he said quietly, finally addressing the receptionist, "we're all on our own journeys. It's never too late to see things differently." With that, the words hung in the air between them, an invitation to change. While the crowd basked in the victory of the moment, something deep within Marcus shifted. He understood this wasn't just a personal win. It was a breakthrough that echoed beyond him. It was about connection, about reshaping perceptions that had long been entrenched. As he stepped into the conference room, fresh inspiration coursing through him, he felt anticipation build again. What would the meeting hold? Would investors see the vision he had been crafting, a vision that included breaking barriers and rebuilding futures? But there was another question lingering in his mind, an echo of his own past. How many others were out there waiting for somebody to see them? He closed his eyes for a brief second, and in that heartbeat, he made a silent vow. He would not just rise for himself, he would lift others up with him. The moment of truth had arrived, but this was just the beginning. The conference room was bright, filled with crisp, clean lines and modern decor. Marcus took a deep breath, centering himself as his supporters found their seats. The hum of chatter echoed around him, but the mingling voices felt distant. He was ready for this moment, a culmination of years of hard work and dreams. As he stood at the head of the table, he stole a glance at the faces around him. Each one had been part of his journey, climbing alongside him, pushing against the barriers that sought to keep them apart. He could see the excitement flickering in their eyes. Today wasn't just about proving himself. It was about showing the world what they could achieve together. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice steady as he looked from face to face. "Today we're here not just to discuss numbers and projections, but to forge a path forward, a path that breaks barriers and redefines success." The room was silent, hanging on his words. He could feel the weight of his speech build around him, not just as a leader, but as a catalyst for change. Just as he dove deeper into his vision, the door swung open. The tall woman from the lobby walked in, her presence as commanding as before. She took a seat at the side, and Marcus felt a rush of confidence at the prospect of her support. He continued, his heart racing as he detailed his plan to expand Syntech's products to underserved communities. But then something shifted. A murmured voice in the back interrupted, cutting through the rhythm of his presentation. It was the familiar voice of the receptionist, the same woman who had doubted him earlier. "Excuse me." She hesitated before continuing, "Can I speak?" Everyone turned to look at her, surprise painting their features. A flush crept across her cheeks, but she pressed on, her voice firmer now. "I just wanted to say I made a mistake. I judged too quickly. This isn't just about business. It's about the difference you're making. I should have seen that." In that moment of vulnerability, a hush fell over the room, and all eyes were on her. Marcus felt an unexpected wave of compassion wash over him. It wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about understanding. Sometimes the walls we build around ourselves prevent us from seeing the truth in others. "Thank you for your honesty," he said, heart-warming to her admission. "We all make mistakes, but it's how we rise from them that counts. It's about encouraging one another to see beyond surface judgments." A smile spread across the room, and the tension that had been pricking at the edges dissipated. In that instant, Marcus could feel a bond forming, a collective understanding that they were all stepping into the light together. As he resumed the meeting, he glanced back at the woman, who nodded in appreciation. This was a new chapter. Not just for him but for everyone present. But as the discussion picked up pace, Marcus couldn't shake a nagging feeling that this was also a turning point. This moment of acceptance could reach beyond these walls. He considered how many others out there might be on the verge of connection, craving affirmation just like he once had. Could their stories intertwine and inspire change in unexpected places? As he wrapped up his presentation, a sense of exhilaration filled the air. They were no longer just colleagues. They had become allies in a greater mission. But as applause echoed, his mind raced, knowing the road ahead was filled with challenges both expected and unseen. What would it take to keep this momentum alive? How could he ensure that every voice was heard? The new chapter of his journey was unfolding, and he couldn't help but wonder what surprises lay ahead as he opened the door to a future where possibilities were limitless. Marcus felt the pulse of excitement as applause filled the room. It was a beautiful sound, ringing in his ears like victory music. Yet, beneath the surface, anxiety simmered. He had opened a door to possibilities, yes, but he also sensed the weight of expectations that came with it. Everyone was looking to him now not just as a leader, but as someone who could deliver a promise of change. As the meeting wound down, conversations buzzed like electric currents, ideas sparking off one another. He could see the passion in his team's eyes, each person sparking with renewed hope. But even amid their excitement, a flicker of doubt loomed in Marcus's thoughts. Would this energy last? Could he keep them unified and engaged in their mission? "Marcus!" A voice broke through his reverie. It was the woman from the lobby again, her confident strides cutting through the crowd. She stopped in front of him, eyes blazing. "I wanted to know how I can help." Surprised, he looked at her thoughtfully. "Really? Your support means the world. We need every passionate heart on board." She smiled, an unexpected warmth spreading between them. "Let us do this together then. If we're really in it to make an impact, I have connections, lots of them." More ideas ignited in Marcus's mind. The potential for collaboration was thrilling, yet also overwhelming. After agreeing to meet later, he turned back to the group, each person buzzing with energy. A moment later, Marcus caught sight of the receptionist hanging back, her earlier admission still lingering in the air. She avoided his gaze, but he could see she was lost in thought. "Hey," he said, stepping toward her. "You've got a lot to offer too, you know. Every voice matters." She looked up, surprise coloring her features. "You really think so?" "Absolutely. You've been here long enough to see what works and what doesn't. Your insights could be game changers." In that moment, Marcus realized he was standing on common ground. They had both made mistakes, both faced judgments, but they were moving forward now. Hope began to ripple between them. "I guess I just wasn't sure where I fit in," she admitted, the vulnerability returning. "You fit perfectly," he assured her. "Let us make this about all of us." They exchanged smiles, the connection shifting something inside Marcus. Maybe he was finally growing into the leader he aspired to be, not just for himself, but for everyone gathered in that room. The sound of chatter around them began to fade, replaced by a growing sense of unity, a collective heartbeat. But just as he felt the surge of optimism, the tall woman who had first entered interrupted him again. "Can I have a moment?" she asked, her brow furrowed. "Of course," he replied, concern creeping in. As she leaned in, her voice lowered, Marcus felt the room closing around them. "I need to tell you something important about the meeting after this." He could sense urgency in her tone, and it sent a shiver down his spine. Instinctively, he braced himself. What could this be about? "Something is happening behind the scenes that could affect our plans," she continued, her gaze darting around. "We need to act quickly." Marcus's heart raced. What lay ahead? Was this the challenge he feared, or a chance to reaffirm their mission together? He sensed the tide turning. Would they stand strong when met with obstacles? As the weight of the moment settled on his shoulders, he silently vowed to safeguard their progress whatever it took. The possibilities ahead began to blend with uncertainty, and Marcus found himself trembling between hope and apprehension. What drastic steps would he have to take to support his newfound allies? Before he could voice his questions, the room hushed once more, and all eyes turned to them. What was about to unfold? What secret was the woman about to share? The tension in the room thickened. The tall woman, now leaning slightly closer, lowered her voice further. "We're being watched, Marcus. There are people who don't want us to succeed. They're spreading doubts about our intentions." Marcus's chest tightened. Watching? Who had their eyes on them? His pulse quickened, and he felt a chill run down his spine, as if unseen eyes were pricking at his resolve. "What do you mean?" he asked, feeling the weight of her words. "Who are they?" "They're just out there. They want to see us fail," she said, glancing uneasily around the room. "Your energy, your ideas, everything we've started to build here threatens their control." Marcus felt a wave of confusion wash over him, colliding with anger. Who would go to such lengths? Did they think bullying would break the spirit of innovation? It might work on others but not on him. He took a deep breath, shaking off the unease creeping in. "Then we need to push back. We're not going to let anyone shake our foundation," he said, more to himself than to her. "Exactly," she urged, her eyes lighting up with determination. "But we need to move fast. The next meeting is crucial. If we present our ideas with strength, it'll send a message." He nodded, feeling the adrenaline surge. "What do we need to do? How can we prepare? We can't just roll over. First, we need your visibility, Marcus." Her voice sharpened slightly, the urgency transforming into a clear strategy. "They need to see you as a leader, not just behind closed doors. We can plan a public forum, something that establishes our commitment to transparency." Marcus could almost hear the gears in motion, clicks of resolve replacing the doubts that had loomed earlier. He was starting to see the shapes of opportunity within this challenge. And the others? How will we get them on board? "I'll talk to them," she said, her confidence infectious. "I can help rally the team. They'll trust my perspective, and once they see you empowered, it will spark something more." As he began to envision the power of taking this battle to a wider stage, Marcus could feel the team coalescing into something stronger. He had been afraid, but now he sensed a fierce, unyielding spirit beginning to take form. "I'll address everyone," he decided. "They're relying on us, and we can't let fear control the narrative. We'll highlight our mission, show them what we stand for, and we'll fight for it." The woman smiled, and there was something genuinely uplifting in the way they shared this moment. It was as though they had ignited a flame they wouldn't let flicker out. Behind them, the reception desk seemed louder with a sense of foreboding now. He could see the receptionist watching their exchange, small details of worry creeping into her expression. The atmosphere shifted subtly, and a mix of excitement and dread crept in. "Do you think she knows?" Marcus asked, glancing over at the receptionist, who suddenly looked away as if caught between her curiosity and apprehension. "I think she suspects something," the woman replied, her voice suddenly cautious. "We need to approach this delicately. Everyone's feelings are raw right now. We can't afford to add to that tension." "Right." Marcus frowned, feeling the weight again. Here they were, braving the storm, but could he count on everyone to follow? What if they balked at being thrust into the spotlight? He cast a quick look at the tall woman, gauging her commitment. "So what's the plan then? When do we bring everyone together?" "Tomorrow." We must act fast, give them a reason to believe in us, before we lose momentum. We'll stand as one or not at all. With that, her resolve shone like a beacon in the dim room. But as soon as Marcus felt the thrill of rebellion take hold, a voice broke through. It was the receptionist again, now stepping forward. I heard part of your conversation, she stammered, eyes darting nervously. Maybe I can help too. If you want me to. I've seen things, I know how the office works. I can back you up. Marcus felt a spark of hope. Your voice matters more than you know, he said, stepping closer to her. We could use your insight. Will you join us? As the receptionist nodded, waves of determination washed over him, but something in the pit of his stomach twisted as he recalled the looming threat outside their doors. Would loyalty win out against adversity? Would they rally together and forge ahead? Or would the fear drown them? The stakes had suddenly grown, and Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that darker times were just around the corner. What awaited them in the broader fight? How deep did the conspiracy go? He turned to the group, his heart pounding with renewed intensity. They were on the brink of something monumental, and he was not going to back down. But even as resolve turned into action, another stirring thought grazed his mind. What if they weren't ready for what lay ahead? The next day dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within the office walls. Marcus woke early, his mind swirling with the weight of what lay ahead. Today would shape everything. He dressed meticulously, wanting to look every bit the leader the team needed him to be. Every button he fastened was a commitment, every tie not a promise to stand firm. Arriving at the office, he noticed how the usual buzz seemed muted. People moved about with wary expressions, eyes flickering with uncertainty. The receptionist, Sarah, stood poised at her desk, her hands clenched around a stack of papers, her face pale. Hey, you good? Marcus asked her, trying to inject a sense of purpose into the atmosphere. She looked up, a mix of resolve and fear mingled in her eyes. I guess I just hope people show up. It feels like everyone's waiting for the other shoe to drop. He nodded, understanding her anxiety. We'll get through this together. Remember, we're stronger as a team. As he made his way to the conference room, the tension heightened with each step. He couldn't shake the sensation of unseen eyes watching him, lingering behind the office's sterile walls. Marcus took a deep breath, pushing the door open. The room was sparse, yet it buzzed with the energy of the gathered team. A dozen familiar faces looked back at him, each one reflecting their own mixture of hope and concern. The woman from the day before, the one with the determination in her eyes, was already there, her posture confident. Okay, everyone, Marcus said, raising his arms slightly to steady their focus. I know things haven't felt right lately. I can sense it too. But what I'm about to say might change everything. He glanced around the room, locking eyes with individuals who had once laughed with him at coffee breaks, debated ideas, and celebrated small victories. They were not just faces, they were his team. We're facing challenges, yes, but we're not alone. Together we can turn this around. We need to show them that we're committed to our cause, and that we're standing against anything that threatens our vision. The atmosphere shifted, subtle yet palpable. A buzz began to hum in the background as he spoke. Heads nodded. How do you plan to do that? A voice called out from the back. A man named David, who often played the devil's advocate. Marcus appreciated his candor. The plan is simple, he began, feeling a rush of adrenaline. Tomorrow we hold a public forum. We'll invite everyone, management, stakeholders, everyone needs to see our strength and unity. This is about transparency, just like we discussed. Encouragement began to ripple through the crowd, but David's skeptical brow remained furrowed. What if they don't show? Or what if they come and try to dismantle what we're building? That's the risk we take, Marcus replied firmly. But if we don't stand up now, we let them dictate the narrative. Fear has no place in our vision. After a few moments of contemplation, David sighed, a reluctant smile spreading across his face. All right, count me in. Let us do it. With that, a wave of resolution seemed to wash over the room. Voices began to rise, contributing ideas, supportive comments, and hypothetical outcomes. Within minutes, everyone was engaged, rallying around the cause. Even Sarah, standing at the edges, found herself smiling, her anxieties slowly melting into excitement. But as the chatter began to form a rhythm of its own, the door swung open abruptly. In stepped a figure Marcus had only seen in passing, a high-ranking exec known for keeping a tight ship. The room plunged into a hush. "What's going on here?" the executive demanded, eyes sharp and critical. "I hope you're not plotting something against company policy." Marcus felt his heart hammer against his ribs. It was too soon for this. They only had momentum. They needed time to build their case. He took a step forward, using his voice to command attention, layers of uncertainty coiling in his stomach. "We're simply discussing how we can strengthen our mission," he said, grounding himself. "Everyone deserves a chance to be heard, especially now." But even as his words hung in the air, uncertainty flared once more. Would this executive block their efforts before they had even begun? Old fears began to claw at the back of his mind, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something even more dangerous awaited them as they stepped into this brave new world. Did they really have what it took to beat back the shadows looming within their own ranks? As the executive's piercing gaze bore down on him, distinct doubts flared, but Marcus stood firm. The moment of reckoning was at their doorstep, and it might either lift them or shatter them completely. What would happen next? Would they brave the storm gathering on the horizon, or would the looming threat snuff out their burgeoning flame? Marcus held his breath, the weight of the executive's presence filling the room like thick fog. This was the pivotal moment, and he had to steer it in the right direction. With all due respect, he began, biting back his unease, "We're committed to fostering an open dialogue about our values. It's crucial for our team to feel heard." The executive's eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, the woman with determination from earlier stepped forward. "This is about more than just policy. It's about reinvigorating our spirit as a company," she said, her voice steady and clear. "We believe in transparency and collaboration. Isn't that what you want for us too?" For a heartbeat, the room felt suspended, the energy shifting slightly in their favor. The executive scanned the crowd, and for a fleeting moment, Marcus could see doubt flicker in his eyes. But then the executive straightened, shoulders back, assuming a posture of authority. "You need to tread carefully. The company can't afford chaos." "Then why not support us?" Marcus replied, fueling a newfound courage. "We're simply trying to align everyone with the vision we all share." "Isn't that a good thing?" Silence blanketed the room. It felt as if they were on the edge, ready to either topple into despair or leap into conviction. The executive's expression hardened. "I'll be watching. Make sure you don't overstep," he finally said, turning on his heel and leaving as abruptly as he entered. The tension released like a drawn bowstring. Marcus could feel the adrenaline seeping away, replaced with relief. "Let us regroup," he urged, his voice tinged with urgency. "We've still got a form to prepare for. The real battle starts now." As the team resumed their fervent chatter, ideas sparking like firecrackers, Marcus caught Sarah's eye. Her earlier anxiety was replaced with quiet determination, a resolve that ignited a flicker of hope in his chest. "You were solid back there," she mouthed, still moving among the crowd. He smiled back, feeling something shift within him. The team was galvanized. The fight wasn't just about facing the executive anymore. It was about unifying for their beliefs and future. They were ready to confront the storm, not merely weather it. "All right, let us start assigning roles," he instructed, his heart racing with a mix of anticipation and fear. Voices rose again, filled with passion as people volunteered their strengths, and brainstorming erupted. Minutes turned into hours. The conference room grew warmer with the buzz of ideas and the determination to make a stand. As they sketched out their plans, Marcus felt a growing bond among the group, their collective energy lifting him higher. Yet, as the meeting concluded and they each prepared to leave, a cold dread crept back in. The executive was only a symptom of the larger problem, the complexities and pressures of the corporate world. Would their united front withstand the scrutiny that lay ahead? Marcus lingered for a moment, the weight of his decisions growing heavier. Could their voices, their passions truly change the course of this company? And what would it cost them to fight for what was right? Just then David approached him. "You know, I admire your courage, Marcus. But do you really think we can change things?" The question hung in the air like an uninvited guest. Marcus looked around the room, seeing the glimmers of hope in their eyes, the shared resolve radiating from them. "We have to try," he replied, determination setting his jaw. "If we don't, we're guaranteeing we'll fail." With that, as everyone filed out, Marcus felt the moment stretching before him, a cliff's edge of possibility. The team was prepared to leap, but was there a safety net below? Dark clouds loomed on the horizon as he stepped out into the world outside the office. Would they fall or fly? And what future risks awaited them in this battle for their voices? The answers felt unsettlingly close yet agonizingly out of reach. Marcus felt the cold air outside the office wrap around him like an unexpected embrace. He took a deep breath, hoping the chill would ground his racing thoughts. What now? They had momentum, true, but how far could that take them against an established system? Hey Marcus. Sarah's voice broke through his reverie. She was hurrying towards him, her brow slightly creased. Did you see the email from HR? They're monitoring conversations now. We need to be careful. Panic flickered in Marcus's chest. Monitoring? Why would they? Because they're threatened, she interrupted, voice dropping to an urgent whisper. They know we're organizing. It's neck and neck between innovation and control right now. He nodded, understanding the stakes. Then we need to be strategic, he said, steeling himself, a resolve solidifying in his core. This isn't just about a meeting anymore. It's a movement. As they continued their conversation, David joined them, 2 steaming cups of coffee in hand. I figured we could use a pick-me-up, he said, handing one to Marcus with a smile. The warmth of the cup did little to thaw the chill of worry creeping in. The feedback from that last meeting. It's starting to circulate. Is that good or bad? Sarah asked with a furrowed brow. Let us just say, David replied, taking a sip of his coffee, it's ruffled some feathers. His expression turned serious. But it could also unite us. We need to be careful, but we also need to be bold. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle over him again. The ice was fragile and they were walking on it. But then again, without risks there was no change, no progress. We'll have to leverage what we have, he declared, the plan taking shape in his mind. Exactly, Sarah chimed in, the fire reigniting in her eyes. What if we held a forum, but not just any forum? One where everyone really speaks. It'll put pressure on management to hear us out. They won't be able to ignore it. David nodded. We have to ensure it's not just a facade. Every department needs to represent its voice. We gather, we share, we demand to be heard. A spark of excitement raced through Marcus. Could this be the rallying cry they needed? Let us set it up. Now. Today, he urged, feeling urgency pulse through his veins. They began discussing logistics, voices rising with enthusiasm as ideas volleyed between them. But with each suggestion, a nagging feeling echoed in the back of Marcus's mind. What if it backfires? He said, voice suddenly serious, quieting the group. We're challenging a system that's been in place for years. What if they retaliate? Silence fell, the weight of uncertainty hanging thick in the air. Then we face it together, Sarah said softly, her expression unwavering. If we act with purpose and unity, we can't fail. We need to show them we're not afraid. Marcus's heart swelled with pride. This team was more than just a group of colleagues. They were family, fighting for each other and for a future they believed in. Just as they were about to finalize their plans, a figure approached from the hallway. It was the executive, flanked by 2 security guards. The room immediately went still. Seems like someone's taking this quite seriously, the executive declared, a smug smile dancing across his lips. Marcus's heart raced. Did they just unveil too much too soon? Gather your things, the executive continued, the threat clear in his tone. This meeting is over. I suggest you think carefully about your next steps. As Marcus looked around, he could sense the tension suffocating the room. The executives were sending a message, and it was loud and clear. But they were ready to fight back. Unity surged through him, they wouldn't back down. With each moment Marcus felt the fight rising. This wasn't just a corporate battle anymore. It was personal. What would they do now, armed only with their determination and courage? Would they rise to the challenge, or would they stumble in fear? The next move was critical, but in whose hands? As the executive's words hung in the air like a storm cloud, Marcus felt a rush of adrenaline. The power play was clear. The threat was meant to intimidate. But underneath the fear, a flicker of determination ignited. This was their moment to stand firm. Marcus, Sarah whispered, reaching for his arm. What do we do? First, we stay calm, Marcus replied, Glancing around at the faces of his teammates, he could see the resolve in David's eyes, the fire in Sarah's. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about all of them. We need to stick together. The executive smirked, clearly relishing the room's tension. You have your choice of methods here, but make no mistake you will comply. Or else. David clenched his fists, the quiet strength emanating from him. Or else what? We're not going to back down because you're trying to bully us. The executive raised an eyebrow, clearly taken aback by the defiance. For a moment the air shifted, doubt flickered across his smug demeanor. But he quickly masked it with a sneer. You'll regret choosing to be so bold. As he turned to leave, the security guards followed suit, casting wary glances at Marcus and his team. The moment they were gone, Sarah spoke up, voice trembling yet fierce. What do we do now? Now, Marcus said, heart pounding, we decide if we're going to let them scare us or if we're going to show them who we are. We've already seen what the outside thinks of us. It's time to change that narrative, David added. But how? Marcus's mind raced. The forum was still their best chance to gather strength. We need to move fast. We have to get everyone on board and set this up as soon as possible. If we show strength in numbers, they won't have a choice but to listen. Even as he said it, Marcus felt a stab of fear. Would they be able to attract enough support? What if management pulled more strings to shut them down? The thought swirled in his mind, but it was overshadowed by the light of hope. They were in the right. They had every reason to fight. Let us create a compelling message, Sarah suggested, her eyes bright with newfound purpose. Something that resonates with everyone. We won't just be asking for recognition. We'll be demanding respect. David nodded vigorously. We can draft an email to every department. Make it clear that this is about more than just a few voices. It's about all of us. Everyone deserves a seat at the table. As the trio dove into planning, a spark ignited in the room. Their barriers were crumbling. And what emerged was a shared vision that could bridge gaps and forge alliances. The more they brainstormed, the more ideas poured forth, each one further solidifying the camaraderie among them. But in the back of Marcus's mind lingered the executive's words. The threat wouldn't just vanish. Could they really pull this off without facing severe backlash? Marcus took a deep breath, the weight of uncertainty pressing down yet again. I know this isn't just about organizing. It's about a belief we all share, he finally said, looking each of them in the eyes. If we believe in this, they will too. We've got to rally support and have each other's backs. Their resolve echoed in a chorus of agreement, but excitement was tinged with trepidation. They were standing at the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. As they prepared to send the first email, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to set off a chain of events that could change everything. Would they spark the revolution they hoped for, or unleash the full force of corporate wrath? The buzzing anticipation was palpable. Behind every decision lay the haunting question. Could the fire of their ambition burn bright enough to overcome the shadows of their fears? The next morning dawned like a clear bell ringing, signaling a new beginning. Marcus woke up early, heart pounding with a mixture of hope and anxiety. Today was not just any day, it was the day their collective voices would ring loud and clear. He dressed with purpose, every piece of clothing a silent vow to honor the likelihood of change. As he stepped into the office, he could feel the tension also buzzing in the air, visceral and thick. Crowds of employees milled about, most of them sporting cautious smiles and whispers of uncertainty. He spotted Sarah across the room, her expression a mirror of his own resolve laced with thinly veiled anxiety. Hey, he said, stepping toward her. Are you ready for today? Have we heard from everyone? She nodded, exhaling deeply. Yes, but not everyone had time to respond. Some are still shaken by yesterday's confrontation. Marcus swallowed hard, shaking the lump of doubt that had formed in his throat. That's okay. This isn't just about those who show up. This is about planting seeds of hope, even for those watching from the sidelines. We will find a way to make this work. Their conversation drew the attention of David, who approached with urgency. We have confirmation for the forum at 3. We just need to remind everyone again, get them excited about the possibilities. Okay, let us rally them, Marcus replied, feigning confidence. But the weight of doubt accompanied that resolve. What if only a handful showed up? Would it really be worth the risk of rocking the boat? By midday, the atmosphere had shifted slightly. People filled the lunchroom, their excited chatter hinting at apprehension but growing enthusiasm. Marcus took a seat at one of the long tables, where he could see everyone. It would be their moment of reckoning. "Listen up, everyone," he started, raising his hand slightly to draw attention. The talking quieted down, faces turning towards him, curious eyes fixed firmly. "Today at 3 p.m., we're organizing a public forum. And we need each of you, not just those who speak up, to be here." David added, "This isn't just another meeting. This is an opportunity to share our stories, our dreams, and our vision. We need everyone's voice to bridge this gap." Sarah, fiery and contagious, chimed in, "If we want things to improve, we can't just stand on the sidelines. It's time to take a stance for ourselves and for those who feel unheard." The fervor in the room rose rapidly, hearts opening as hope began to bloom. Marcus smiled, feeling the pulse of possibility steady, the nerves fluttering within him. As they chatted, excited ideas bounced between tables like colorful confetti. Each person began envisioning how they could participate, their energy palpable like an electric current flowing through the room. The clock ticked down, bringing that afternoon closer, and with it, the test of their resolve. When the hour arrived, Marcus stood at the front of the crowded conference room, filled to bursting with faces who all bore the same spark of determination. It was a tapestry of stories, different backgrounds weaving together to form a vibrant mosaic of unity. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice unwavering. "We are here today not just to talk, but to share our commitment to one another, to demand change for everyone in this room." The crowd murmured their agreement, their backing steadfast. Each voice, loud or quiet, echoed with confidence as they prepared to share their experiences one by one. What had begun as a shaky foundation turned into a roaring chorus of voices echoing their shared struggles, triumphs, and hopes. As the stories filled the space around them, Marcus felt emotion swell. Tears shimmered in the eyes of many. Unity emerged as hearts expanded. No longer were they just co-workers. They were comrades fighting for a cause larger than themselves. Then a familiar figure slipped in the back, a figure with a sharp suit and an insatiable scowl. The executive had arrived, his presence both intimidating and commanding. Yet instead of silence overtaking the room, it was met with a rallying cry. The energy shifted. An electric wave of bravery washed over everyone. "Today is not about fear. It's about strength, and strength in numbers," Marcus exclaimed, loudly for the new audience to hear. And they did hear. Rising voices sang and echoed the words, rallying around the conviction that they would no longer be silenced. They were forging their path forward together, no longer alone. As the forum concluded, applause erupted, eyes sparkling with newfound determination. The energy flowed through the air, tangible and alive. They had not just shared stories. They had created a movement centered around inclusivity and respect. As the crowd began to disperse, Marcus spotted Sarah again. "We did it," she said, beaming. "I can't believe how far we've come. Feels incredible." "It does," he replied, feeling the weight of anxiety lift from his shoulders. Amid the applause and celebration, a voice cut through the noise. It was the receptionist, Sarah, now standing at the forefront rather than apart. "Thank you all for giving me the courage to stand up," she declared, her voice ringing in conviction. "We're just getting started, and we're going to make a real difference together." Marcus grinned, a rush of joy flooding his heart. This was not just a moment in time. It was a launching pad for a future that combined all their dreams. Together they would take on the shadows that loomed around them, because now, they had emerged as beacons of change. Their voices would not just be heard. They would be unstoppable. And as he looked out over the room, their faces glowing, spirited with hope, he felt assured that this was just the beginning. But the challenges were still ahead. Emboldened yet cautious, they had to stand guard against skepticism and doubt. Because together, they were writing a new story, a narrative that refused to be muted or overlooked. As the weight of this newfound courage settled, Marcus understood. It was more than a corporate fight. It was a journey of empowerment for themselves, and for countless others waiting to find their own voices. With a united front, they could face whatever came next, ready to reshape their own destiny. Before another moment slipped into the past, he realized they had forged not just a mission but a family. A family ready to rise together, and with that, the world would be their canvas. If you felt inspired by this transformation, this journey of hope and strength, here's what you need to do. You need to subscribe now. Let us keep this energy flowing and not miss the next exclusive stories that can change lives. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm. Every bit counts. Comment and share your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters to us. And don't forget to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to be part of this amazing community. This is the moment to show your support. Together we will rise.